progress. So, on Thursday, February the 16th, 2017, I left Sanford with Dana, and Dana drove me to the Prairie St. John Psychiatric and Behavioural Health Hospital, where I signed in for intensive inpatient care. It was also my 47th birthday. I was scared, and after Dana drove off, it was the first time I felt lonely in a long time. I was, however, 15 days sober. That evening I was given a copy of the Alcohol Anonymous Big Book, which I signed in my name and added sober plus 15 days. Now I have two birthdays, my belly button birthday and my sobriety birthday on the 1st of February. The next night I attended my first AA meeting at St. Genevieve's Place, part of St. Prairie St. John's Treatment Centre, and picked up my first 24-hour sobriety chip. In that moment, that thin, light, aluminium, silver-coloured coin meant everything to me. There's a statement for you. Rehab is not easy. I heard many times it's not meant to be. The start of mine was a little rough, as I still had to fix myself, and the problem would be I thought I could fix myself, and the problem would be fixed. I didn't really listen, and I still thought I knew all the answers. Another symptom of this disease. I wanted to get better, but I still thought I knew what to do. About a week into my treatment, my absolutely fantastic counsellor, a woman I equally owe the last 3 years of my life to by the name of Joanne Spearing, handed me my very incorrect rear end on a plate. This day was also the day Dana came to meet my group and give her side of living with me was like. It was on that day, it was a day I'd never forget. Between Joanne and Dana working their magic, it was a day I realised that I was in the wrong, that I needed help, and a great deal of help, to learn how to manage this disease. It was at lunchtime, after a hard conversation with Dana in her car parked outside St. Genevieve's Place. I had truly regrouped and began to think what the first step would be to living with this disease. I began to listen to people and take in and think about what I was hearing. And what I hearing was not good. It was not pleasant. It was not an uplifting scene from a Hallmark-type movie with tear-jerking background music. It was on that day, late in the afternoon, I took stock and admitted two things for the first time. Firstly, all the empty bottles Dana regularly found around the basement were not there because I put them down and picked something else up and just forgot about them before taking them to recycle. I had carefully hidden them there to drink their contents and actually forgot all about them. Secondly, the charges for $29.99 and all the cash withdrawals of $40 taken out from our accounts were for Jim Beam. To admit this to myself, to say I did this, that it was bad, to actually feel something about this, to feel shame about this, and not to have to lie about it anymore. This was a fantastic feeling. It was a first step towards recovery. It turned out to be a hell of a fantastic day. Each day after that, I embraced with a mixture of eagerness for the underlying feeling and an underlying feeling of fear. Fear about what else I'd learn, remember, admit about myself, and an eagerness to take all this in, address it, talk about it, and listen to responses. In Joanne's group, each of us are allotted a different coloured sand. Each morning when we shared, we poured our sand into a large glass container as we introduced ourselves and added what we are, as in, my name is Mazz, I am an alcoholic. And then we talked about how we were feeling. We listened. We suggested and listened. We did group activities. We read to each other. We watched documentaries about addiction and freely discussed them. We helped each other understand how our personal symptoms to our disease, without shame, without judgment, and without lies. 3 times a week in the evenings, Dana came to visiting hours. We talked about my progress, our fears for the future, some of which were medical bills. There was no doubt in my mind that this was a hard time for Dana, who managed her work schedule while having to drive all over town and spend time on the phone and manage all of the medical billing. It was about this time that I realised I was not alone in all of this. My wife was going through some hard times connected to this disease, a disease which does affect whole families. As the days went on, I slowly began to relearn what I used to be, and even at this point, I started to like the new me. I think this self-progress was marked by a Thursday morning on March the 16th. Joanne asked me that during our first break to come to her office. I was asked if I wanted to go home that night and come back the next day for 8:30 in the morning and start every weekday at counselling and go home after each treatment. When the weekend before, I picked up my 1-month sobriety chip, and that red-coloured silver light aluminium coin was sitting with great pride inside my front left side jean pocket at that moment. Now this was almost an uplifting scene from a Hallmark type movie, minus the music. Remember I mentioned that I retained brain function? I had the presence of mind to ask, maybe we should see what Dana thinks. Joanne agreed completely, and I still think this was a crafty wee test. So we phoned Dana. Dana, bless her, said that it was a very good idea, that she was very happy, and that she was looking forward to picking me up at 5 o'clock. Cue tear-jerking background music. I would like to write about this evening, but I need a preface. What happened may not work for everyone who just came out of an opportunity to come out of the opportunity and trust.
You should start this sentence again.
Yes, I think I should. What happened may not work for anyone else who was just given the opportunity and trust to start day release treatment. However, one thing which has to happen when working with the treatment program to successfully be a sober alcoholic is no more lies. So here it is. Lily was happy to see me as well. Dana and I had a fantastic meal. It was nice to eat something that you needed to chew. And I got to use a knife for dinner. If you ever dine with a European, you know that a knife and fork is required at all times, as opposed to a plastic fork and a plastic spoon. After Dana was a wee bit quiet. So I asked what was wrong. I was not exactly expecting the answer, to be honest, but I cannot believe...
Dr. Marry,
I know, I cannot...
You're doing great. Start here.
I was not exactly expecting the answer, but it was honest.
There you go.
I cannot believe I want a glass of wine and I can't have one. So I mentioned that Day could have a drink. She wasn't the alcoholic. I am. And I made a decision. We walked down the street, crossed University Drive, and went to Luna for a glass of wine for Dana, a lemonade for me, and a dessert menu, armed with the rationale that if this all goes belly up, I could still get my bed back at Prairie. Everything was fine. I think we needed to do that. To this day, we can still happily go out and eat. I can still happily go out and eat with Dana, and she can enjoy a glass of wine if she wants with dinner and the company of her sober, fully present husband. As I said, this might not work for everyone, but it is the nature of the disease. The treatment is living with your own terms, free of fear or guilt. I personally just refuse to be afraid of not trusting myself to enjoy a night out with my wife.
So this all came about because that morning I was reading a book, and the woman was an English professor, and I don't know what her husband did, but she came home from work, and he'd already started making dinner, and they were having a great conversation, and he, in the midst of this conversation and with no discussion, pulled out a glass and poured her a nice glass of red wine. And I read that sentence. And, you know, I mean, I like wine. I could take it or leave it, kind of. But I read that sentence, and I was so overwhelmed with outrage that was never going to happen in my life again. You would have thought I was an alcoholic. I mean, I hadn't had anything to drink since you'd gone into rehab, and likely some before. But I just couldn't believe that you had taken that away from me. So... You also very nicely G-rated this part of the story because you make me seem kind of rational and also like a sane human being who brings their spouse home from rehab and says, I can't believe I can't drink.
But it does make sense. I have listened.
It doesn't. You're being very kind.
I have listened to so many people when we talk about this that, you know, they resent their partner because their partner drinks in front of them. And I just didn't want that. If you suffer from the disease of alcoholism, surely you can't drink. But I'm lucky in the fact that I can be comfortable being around people who drink, and it doesn't. Mercifully, it doesn't affect me at all, and that is another thing I'm lucky for. I know people they can't see an advert for alcohol on the TV; they just can't watch it.
Yeah. Well, it was a bold Not so very bright
Oh, it
move
was
on my part.
It was I mean, I wouldn't recommend this to any other alcoholic at all, but it worked for us, and that's the thing about dealing with this disease and the program. You have to find what works for you. I mean, that's a crazy piece of advice to give any other alcoholic, I think, but it worked for us.
It did. It did.